Straight ahead on CCX News, walking to school as a protest. What these parents want to show their school district. Plus, fire on the prairie. This one under control to help native species. And we'll meet a standout student from Plymouth who has meant a lot to his young neighbor. CCX News starts right now.
Hello everyone and thanks for joining us. Some parents in the Wayzata School District are voicing concern over a proposed school boundary change.
A Wednesday morning, just over a dozen families gathered in a walking protest. Reporter Shannon Slatton explains what happened.
We are here to join together as a community and walk to Greenwood.
Danny Dobrin and his two daughters joined about a dozen other families for a walk to school that was less about socializing and more about sending a message.
Greenwood for a lot of these families is right in our backyards. We're 5 short blocks away, so again that's why we're all banding together to walk to Greenwood today to just show solidarity and show the school board that this is our school, this is our neighborhood school, and we want to stay here.
Proposed boundary changes have these families switching schools and not attending Greenwood Elementary, but instead Oakwood Elementary, which is about 2.5 miles away.
A lot of us moved into this neighborhood specifically based on the school district, and it was only a couple short years ago that we've had to go through the same process to try to fight to stay at the schools that our kids started at and have grown to love over the years.
Why the change? The Wayzata School District keeps growing. Another new elementary school will open on the northwest side of Plymouth this fall. And a group of community members have been collaborating since January to try to change school boundaries in the easiest manner possible.
Most children and families really love their school. So no one, as I've said before, nobody raises their hand, and says, please move us. I mean, nobody wants to move. It's a difficult thing because you build those strong relationships.
The school district says this proposed change would impact fewer students than it did in the last boundary change 3 years ago.
In other situations, especially for the elementary school, we're taking large sections, we're not isolating too much. I mean, we're taking whole neighborhoods and moving them together. So at least you know that you're going with everyone at your bus stop.
But this neighborhood doesn't want to go. They hope their efforts will once again keep them attending the school they've come to love.
It worked last year, a couple years ago, and I feel like if we, put forth the same effort and come together as a community and show that we're still passionate about this, we're hopeful that we'll achieve the same results.
In Plymouth, Shannon Slatton, CCX News.
The school board will host a public input session at Central Middle School tonight. That's Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. The board plans to make its final vote on the boundary changes coming up on May 14th.
Now to Robbinsdale and an update on a significant investment the city is considering regarding its drinking water. On Tuesday night, the City Council voted to allow an application to proceed for a low-interest loan through the state's Public Facilities Authority. The money would help pay for a new water treatment plant. The city's current water treatment system is more than 60 years old and reaching the end of useful life. The cost estimate for a new plant is in the $16 million range, and the city can account for about $7 million of that, but would need to figure out how to pay for the rest.
The city of Brooklyn Park is looking outside the department to find its next fire chief. Brooklyn Park city manager has nominated Elk River Fire Chief T. John Cunningham to become the city's next fire chief. The Brooklyn Park City Council has the final say, and they will vote on May 14th. Cunningham has been Elk River's fire chief since 2009.
In Plymouth, a fast food restaurant is one of several closing in the metro. The Burger King off County Road 9 is no longer open. The Chicago area company that owned the restaurant has been in federal bankruptcy court. The Plymouth location is among 9 Burger King locations closing in Minnesota. The closures affect a total of about 200 employees.
A dream is much closer to reality this week for the owners of a Golden Valley brewery. The Golden Valley City Council on Tuesday night approved a taproom license for Under Pressure Brewing. The business plans to open this summer at a former warehouse building near Highway 55 and Boone Avenue. The brewery is located just north of a new restaurant that also plans to open this summer, Latitude 14. It's an Asian fusion concept that's taken over the former Perkins restaurants. Brooklyn Park is playing host to a statewide conference.
It's aimed at eliminating violence and creating safer communities among young men and boys, especially in the African American community.
At the end of the day, we just want all kids to be safe, healthy, and hopeful. But we know to reduce homicides, you got to be targeted. You got to identify who is most impacted by it, and you got to give them the resources that they need.
Brooklyn Park is part of Cities United, a national initiative to reduce violence and build partnerships among community organizations to improve safety. The statewide conference in Brooklyn Park is aimed at encouraging other local cities to join the effort. One law enforcement speaker from South Carolina told the group their use of force is down significantly as they build relationships with the public.
So we're out constantly engaging the public to get to know them. So when those use of force encounters may happen, we can diffuse them to a point where we know you now. We don't have to make an arrest. We can use other means of trying to get, dispose of a problem.
Minneapolis and St. Paul are also part of the Cities United group.
Three Rivers Parks officials are using fire to give nature a helping hand. Park officials are burning parts of the prairie in the name of preservation. Today at Crow-Hassan Park, they burned about 10 acres of prairie with the idea of burning out exotic species to give the prairie a fresh start. What's good for the prairie is good for the wildlife that depends on it. They'll burn about 400 acres of prairie plants in the park system.
So by burning them, it actually cycles a lot of nutrients in the prairie itself, a lot of nitrogen actually, and that's what allows these plants to really have a big flush or rejuvenation of the prairie. So these prairies, they grew up with fire, they evolved with fire, and they need it in order to sustain themselves. A lot of songbirds utilize these open prairies, and a lot of birds that you won't find in other places, you'll find here at Crow-Hassan because of the fires that we do.
They're making sure the winds are just right, of course, before starting a fire like this. And because of the long winter, this operation is several weeks later than usual, but that means that the prairie will green up more quickly.
Plymouth is asking residents for 1 minute of time to provide valuable feedback. Starting this month, Plymouth will become the first city in the state to start using Flash Vote. It's an online survey tool for residents to give the city quick feedback on a certain issue or service. For example, the July survey will be on the Plymouth Creek Center and what kind of renovations residents would like to see.
What we're trying to do is make it easier for citizens to provide feedback and to be engaged with the city. We know that people are busy and it can be difficult to get to public meetings, and so we're looking for new and creative ways to make that easier.
Each survey will be no more than 5 questions, and you can sign up for Flash Vote by going to the Plymouth City website. Still ahead, a Wayzata Standout student who has made an impact in the classroom, on the field, and in his Plymouth neighborhood.
And plus, Maple Grove battles Elk River in a matchup of 2 of the hottest teams in the Northwest Suburban Conference softball. That's coming up later in sports.
But first, possible showers Thursday night, otherwise sunshine and a high near 70 on Thursday.
Being a star athlete in high school comes with a list of responsibilities.
Now, sometimes those responsibilities involve being a role model, and as Delane Cleveland reports, this week's standout student from Wayzata High School has become much more than a role model for a young boy from Plymouth.
I heard the theater productions are like crazy. So I really can't wait to see it.
As the school year winds down, it's no surprise to find some of the seniors taking an easier course load. At least that's the way Drew Gallinson sees it.
Taking some easier classes, which after junior year is pretty deserved, I think, from everybody, especially with the kind of classes that Wayzata has to offer.
It's a solid argument from someone who carries a 3.7 GPA.
Header and a goal, and we're tied up. Gallinson.
Outside of the classroom, Drew helped lead the Wayzata soccer team to a state title this year, and he was one of the star players on the basketball team that made it to the state tournament 2 years in a row.
It's been unbelievable. I know I'm going to have these memories when I'm old, so.
Wayzata's head basketball coach Brian Schnettler calls Drew a leader and a positive role model.
He's been a special kid to have in our program. He's a great athlete, does really well academically, but it's more the kind of personal touch he puts on everybody you meet.
That personal touch applies to the playing field, the classroom, and beyond the walls of Wayzata High School.
Especially with the youth, just seeing them around and saying, hey, like, I remember being young and high school athletes seemed like pro athletes to me, and like having that impact on people is really cool.
Yet the impact he made on one little boy stands out above the rest. Last summer, Wayzata police officer Bill Matthews was killed in the line of duty by a distracted driver with cocaine in her system. Matthews left behind a 7-year-old son named Wyatt.
My dad was very influential in my life and growing up. Just like having somebody to throw a ball with or go fishing with, like little things I think like that make the biggest difference. So
little things can go a long way, and Drew is helping to fill that void in Wyatt's life.
it's just something I felt like I had to do. He's a great kid, great sense of humor still, even after all this. He's an amazing kid.
An amazing kid with an amazing mentor to look up to.
So Wyatt's lucky to have someone like Drew live close to him and be able to interact with him and have a great role model in his life like Drew.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Drew said he expects his relationship with Wyatt to be lifelong, and the two plan to go fishing a lot this summer. And as for Drew's future, he plans to attend the University of Minnesota in the fall. Good on you, Drew.
Yeah, that's right.
Good job. Still ahead, jungle creatures, circus animals, and the Who's.
A musical based on the works of Dr. Seuss is coming up. But first, rivals Park Center and Osseo go head-to-head on the baseball diamond. John Jacobson has the highlights coming up next in sports.
John Jacobson with sports. The Park Center and Osseo baseball teams are looking to get a little momentum going after slow starts to the season, and they met up in Brooklyn Park on Tuesday. This one moved to Park Center, so Osseo, the home team for the game. Bottom of the first bases loaded. Osseo's Andrew Shaw drives a deep fly, 2-run score. Tim Lavin hustles around from first base and scores as well. It's a 3-run double for Shaw, and the Orioles take the lead. Top of the third, Park Center works for the hit and run. Spencer Harrington finds a hole. Mitch Meyer comes in and scores, cutting the Osseo lead to 3-2. Then Tanner Sherva lifts a long fly ball to the right field fence, scoring Tanner Stein. Pirates get 5 in the frame, and they take the lead. The Orioles rally back in the bottom of the third, but Park Center gets 1 in the fourth and 2 in the fifth. Riley Peterson's base hit scores Matt Spori for a 7-5 lead. Zach Poppy works the 7th for PC. He gets the strikeout to end it. Pirates win 9-5 for their first Northwest Suburban Conference win of the season. In softball, Maple Grove entered the week with a 6-1 record. They took on another strong Northwest Suburban Conference team Tuesday. The Crimson facing 4-0 Elk River. The Elks' Caitlin Tran burns the Crimson slap defense, slicing it past the drawn-in outfielders. This goes for a triple. She'll score on a wild pitch later for a 1-0 lead in the first. Maple Grove answers. Ava Dueck drives a fly ball to deep right field. It's in the park, but deep enough to score Jade Tomaszek on a sacrifice fly. It's 1-1 through 1 inning of play. It stays that way until the 5th. Sophie Colhane comes through. Her bases loaded blooper drops in. 2-run score, and Maple Grove takes a 3-1 lead. Elk River responds in the 6th. Olivia Grev tags it a long way. And Cade Strange scores on Grev's double, and the Elks pull within 3-2. But pitcher Dueck keeps them off the board from there and gets some help in the 7th. The fly ball brings 2 outfielders together. Right fielder Mavis Sachs makes the catch, doubles off the runner at first, and ends the game. Maple Grove wins 3-2. Colhane talked about her clutch hit.
I started looking at the first pitch. I thought to my mind, go for it or go nothing. The first pitch was a ball, so then I went for the second one. It felt good. It really helped with the teammates and coaches cheering loud, and I knew I had it.
In boys lacrosse, Wayzata is coming off a 3rd-place finish in the 2017 state tournament. The Trojans carried a 4-1 record into their Tuesday night game at Hopkins. First quarter, Braden Nelson feeds a pass to Brooks Hansen, who fires and scores and gives the Trojans a 1-0 lead. A few minutes later, it's Hansen giving the pass to Nelson, who scores from a sharp angle here to make it 2-0. 1 of 5 assists for Hansen in the game. Later in the quarter, Hansen gives it up to Dalton Sees. The senior midi delivers Wayzata's 4th goal of the first. It's 4-0 after 1. Second quarter, the Trojans' Chris Thomas wins the faceoff. And to win the race to the net, too, takes it all the way himself and fires in a shot to give Wayzata a 6-0 lead. Third quarter and quick on-target passes result in a goal for Thomas Steipert. That one makes it 10-0 Trojans. Wayzata goes on to win it 17-0 over Hopkins. Earlier in the girls' game between those same schools, Wayzata gets up early in this one. First half of play, Haley Olson passes to Alyssa Story. She scores to put the Trojans ahead 3-0. Trailing 4-0, the Royals get on the board. Abby Martin fights off a couple of defenders and fires a shot through traffic and into the Trojans' net, and it's 4-1. A.J. Olson here from the free position shoots and scores to make it 4-2. That's as close as the Royals get. Late in the first half, Wayzata's Anna Loudon comes from behind the Hopkins net out front of the goal and scores. The Trojans are up 7-3 at halftime. Second half, Story adds to her point total for the game. And this goal here makes it 11-4 Wayzata. Trojans have a number of girls who contribute to the scoring. Kimbo Utsi will score on this play. Wayzata pulls away to win 20-6. They play at #1 Eden Prairie on Thursday. That is all for sports. Mike and Alex, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Still ahead, one determined elephant in a Seussical world.
A performance that even includes a cameo from the not-so-friendly Grinch when we come back.
Front Porch Musical Theater closes out its run of Seussical this weekend.
The show opened last weekend to rave reviews.
Girl like you. So many people that came opening weekend said it was just happy. It made me happy. It made me believe in the character traits that Dr. Seuss writes about in his book of faithfulness and honesty, and all ages just came to us loving the show.
It was all hands on deck with 99 kids in the cast ranging in ages from 4 to 18. They had to bring on not one but two choreographers because of the many dance numbers.
Well, Dr. Seuss is all about, precarious towers and, the way that he drew things, and bringing that to light. A lot has to do with the costuming and also the way that they move. So we incorporated lots of little nuanced movements and some big, broad movements just to bring in that style.
Now, Seussical is on stage at the Rogers High School Performing Arts Center. Showtimes are 7 p.m. on Friday with matinees on Saturday and Sunday. Can you imagine 99 children in that cast? Unbelievable. And you go and you'll have that rhyming thing in your head the rest
throughout
of the
the weekend, right?
That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here again on Thursday starting at 4 o'clock.